Hey everybody, it's Jake here with the DIA guys again, and today we're going to be working on 2009 Cadillac Escalade. I think this is the ESV. I think that's what it's called. It's the long Cadillac, the suburban Cadillac, not the Tahoe Cadillac. This one's got a driver's side headlight that's out, and there's a couple of videos out there on YouTube. I thought I'd make my own version of replacement of this headlight. It's kind of an involved process. You got to take the bumper skirt and the grill off of the car in order to get this headlight replaced, but you know, we're DIA guys, we do it all. We can get this done too, ain't no problem. So I'm gonna switch over here to the car and we'll start talking about the tool we're gonna use to get going, and we'll get working on this this replacement. All right, so here's the front end of the car. You see we got the hood open. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is take up these pins, these little trim pins that hold this cover for the top of the radiator and the radiator core support on the vehicle. And so that's the first thing I'm gonna do. So what I'm using here is just a pry bar, set of pry bars. These are just plastic pry bars. You can use a screwdriver, anything like that. And what you wanna do is get down inside here and kind of wiggle these clips, and very carefully, and the clips will come up. I'm gonna need a free hand here to get them up all the way, but I'm gonna go around and pull up these clips. I pulled up one already. As you can see, this is kind of the way the clips work. This one was broken, but the way they work is they're up, and this bottom part down here kind of is beveled to where when you push it down, it expands the bottom here and kind of mushrooms it out, so it won't come back the other direction until you pull the clip back up. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and go around and pull up these clips here on the front of this core support, and then we'll get to the next project, or the next step, which is removing the screws along the front here for the grill. That's good enough. I think that's it. There you go. All right. Just shoot doing another one. There you go. That's the way you get it done. All right, so with all the clips removed, you just grab a hold of that piece of trim work. That guy just lifts right off there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is these bolts here in the front that hold the grill in place. We're going to remove these bolts, and so that the grill, we can pull the grill and then the bumper cover off as an assembly. Okay, the first step is we're going to loosen the grill bolts.
Taking the grill off.
Yeah. All right. So these are all the bolts here. These are all 10 millimeters. And just to speed up production here, we're using a 1/4 inch wide impact. Get those things pulled out. No big deal. Then we can go underneath the car and we can pull out the bracket that holds the bumper cover in place, so that we can get this bumper cover off. Okay, with those front bolts out from the grill, now we need to step over here to the front wheel wells, and inside the wheel wells there are some bolts, combination of bolts, and some, I got a push pin here that's almost out, but then there's also similar push pins on the passenger side to what we saw on the grill, that grill core support cover. So next step is to come in here in the wheel well and pull these bolts out so we can get access to behind the bumper. Behind the bumper is a bracket that we're gonna take out so that we can pull the whole bumper cover and the grill assembly off. So let's get that going. Okay, now with the inner fender panel removed, I started the car up and we turned it hard to the left so that we can actually access the bolts underneath here. So what you have to do is come underneath here. This, try my best to get a picture of it, but there's two bolts. There's one, and they're right here. They're right here where the fender and the bumper cover come together. There's a bolt, 10mm bolt here, and 10mm bolt behind it. And I think you may also have to take off the 10mm bolt that's right there holding the bracket in place. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull these bolts out, and then hopefully this side will be loose, and we'll go from there. So those bolts from the outside, those bolts are mounted up through, showing it from the outside, those bolts are mounted up through the bumper cover and into the bottom of the fender here, and there's a bracket that goes around. Looks like it attaches to the frame on the back side. Those are the bolts that we're going to remove so that this whole bumper cover will slide off. Okay, so once you loosen up those bolts from that bracket, you can see the bolts, the bolt holes right here and right here. And this side will be loose. And there's also one more bolt that you have to loosen up. I'm going to try to show it here. It's right there. You can see that bolt is, I've taken it out already, as you can see, but that bolt holds this bottom bracket, this black bottom bracket, to the radiator core support as well. So once that bottom bolt and these two top bolts are removed, your bumper should be loose on one side, so you can take it off. So we're going to repeat this whole process on the passenger side. Okay, so now we're on the passenger side. I've got these bolts here at the top off. Down here, this side's loosened, just like the driver's side. I thought I'd do another view of that bolt. And when you look in there, it's this bolt right here that you need to remove. 10mm, just like the others, you can see it removes the bumper from this bracket. So once that's done, we'll get the bumper off here and get this light bulb replaced. Okay. All right, so got the driver's side loose, got the passenger side loose. So with both sides loose, those three bolts that I showed earlier, all the bolts of the grill off, you should be able to just slide the whole thing out as an assembly. So just grab a hold of the bottom side of the grill and very gently, don't grab it and rip it out of here. You don't want to break your grill. Just very, very gently move it and kind of work it out so that you can replace those or get access to the access to those bulbs. There we go. Stuck down at the bottom. Let me go over here and make sure. There we go. Stuck on that bracket. So that's something to watch out for. Those bottom bolts will get kind of stuck on that bracket. And there you go. Now come on in here a little closer. You can see when you bring it in here that you're going to have the bottom lights are going to be connected. So scroll down there, scroll down to the bottom and show those lights. So you have to be real careful when you do that, and make sure you have a buddy out here to remove those connections, so you don't put too much stress on your light fixtures and damage anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and pull off these connectors and set this to the side so we can get access to the lights. Okay, with the front bumper off, there's three bolts to hold the headlight assembly in place. Got one here on top of the fender, one here on the core support, and then there's one over here on the side down by the fender and the inner fender support. So as you can see, I've already removed those. This one's loose, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull this one out completely. When you pull that out, you should be able to just, there's like a little rocket that out and get that out of here. So it's plugged in down here at the bottom, so you just push this tang in and pull the plug loose to separate it. As you can see here, ours has been kind of fixed a little bit. There's some clips down here in the bottom that are broken, so there was an attempt to tape it back down without having to replace this back cover. So I'm not sure if we're going to replace this back cover, what we're going to do with this. I might try another way to fix it, at least until we can get another cover. But in order to remove this cover right here, these back pins kind of stay in place. You don't really pull these out. What you do is you want to take a tool like a screwdriver or something and get in between this bracket here that's on this cover and the headlight assembly itself. You can see right here where it's engaged. You want to separate those two using some leverage and then disengage that pin, and then this whole back cover will come off. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, so we had to do some more investigating because on these headlights it can either be the ballast that's bad or it could be the bulb that's bad. And on this particular vehicle, the passenger side was working fine, so we did a little bit of swapping of the bulbs and determined that the ballast on the driver's side headlight was messed up. And so there's two screws. They're just torque screws that you remove, take out the ballast, and it just kind of pushes down inside there with a seal. And we took it out and looked at it, and as you can see, all inside here, it's all corroded and everything. You shake it, there's actually water inside here. So the problem that we got to deal with here is a bad ballast. That's definitely a problem, but it's a symptom of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is that we've got water in our headlight assembly itself. So we're going to need to disassemble our headlight assembly and check the seal and see what the seal looks like, and see if there's any problems with it, and if that seal needs to be replaced, or what we could potentially do to make sure that that water doesn't get set down inside the lights. What we found too is that the cover, this is actually right here, the cover for the passenger side light assembly, headlight assembly, the tabs on it were broken as well. So originally we were thinking that was the reason why the water was in the driver's side, but the passenger side is totally dry, so that's not the reason. So anyway, obviously that's a weak point in the design. So as you take apart your headlight assemblies and place your bulbs on your Cadillac, you may see a similar problem where these tabs are broken. Again, the way this thing's made, as you can see, there's two slots there. It's made to kind of slide down inside here, and then it rocks down. It rocks down, and you push it, and it locks in place here to give you a good seal. So, all right, so we're going to need to work on disassembling this light assembly and checking out the seal and trying to figure out our bigger problem and get that bigger problem fixed before we replace the ballast. Last time we left off the video, we had some problems with our parts. So we didn't have the covers to cover the back of the lights, and we had some issues with moisture intrusion in one of the light fixtures, or the headlight assemblies. So what I ended up doing, we went and ordered those parts, got the parts in, put those back covers on. I'll show one of the lights with the back cover installed, and then for the headlight assembly we had to do something a little different there as well. So I started to try to take the headlight assembly apart, inspect the gasket, see about replacing the gasket, but we ran into some problems there where basically, if you were to do that, the likelihood of damaging the light assembly was pretty high because it was just really tough to get it apart. So what we ended up doing is actually sealing the bottom side of the light with some silicone, and hopefully this works. I guess if this doesn't work, at worst case, we can get a new headlight, which we'd have probably had to do anyway if we'd have tore it apart. So anyway, that's what we're going to do here. So this next part of the video is going to be putting the light assembly back in the vehicle, getting the bumper reinstalled in the vehicle, and testing everything out and getting it ready to go back on the road. So here you can see the light assembly. We've got the new cover installed here. There are the tabs, nothing's broken, so that's all in good shape. And then down here at the bottom, we kind of theorized most of the moisture's coming at the bottom. So what we did was took some silicone sealant. I know it looks a little bit messy, but sealed it up really good. I did actually a quick test with the faucet, run the faucet in this area right here, and let water just run in this area, and I was actually able to get some of the water to come into the light fixture itself, the light assembly. So I'm thinking that that's probably, you know, we sealed up all these areas at the bottom and partially up the side we sealed. There's actually a shelf on the bottom side of the bumper right here, kind of right here on the bumper, and so we're thinking that that shelf actually allowed the water to collect and get forced down in here, especially when you're running down the road at 60-70 miles an hour or so. So we'll see if that fixes it. Hopefully that's what the problem is. If not, like I said, at worst case, we have to really fix it, you have to get another headlight assembly. So, but let's go ahead and put everything back together and let's test out what we got. All right, so one other thing we're doing here is you got to replace this ballast on the bottom of the light fixture. That was the piece that we found that was broken originally. So putting a little bit of dielectric grease, maybe a lot, dielectric grease on the connections here. So that helps to just keep the connections insulated from water, so that they're less susceptible to water. You know, you got a gasket there, but it's a little bit of insurance. So putting that dielectric grease on there, get this ballast installed, and then we'll put the whole thing back together. All right, so we got the ballast installed on the bottom of the light fixture here. You know, one of the things as I was thinking about the process here that I didn't show is installation of this cover and the light, the bulb behind it. So what we did to do that, so the cover, you know, like I think I did show that before. It's just a tab here that holds it in place. With this cover off, there's a connection that goes in the bottom of the bulb itself, and all you have to do is just get a small screwdriver, flat blade screwdriver or something similar, and just very carefully pry that connector off. Move that connector out of the way, and then you grab a hold of the bulb itself and just turn it. I think it's about a quarter of a turn, and then once you turn it a quarter of a turn, then you can carefully pull the bulb out, stick the new bulb in, turn it a quarter of a turn, and then make your connection again. You just want to be real careful with that bulb. Don't touch the lighting, the surfaces of the bulb. Keep it good and clean. Make sure it's seated and it's tight. You'll know it because there's like a click, and it kind of clicks down in place, so you'll know when you got the bulb seated and they're good. Make sure your connection is good, and then reinstall your cover here, and then your light fixture is ready to go back on the truck. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to get the fixture installed on the truck. All right, so one thing you're going to want to make sure you do before you get all this whole front end and everything put on the truck, put the light fixture or the headlight assembly, I call it light fixture, put the headlight assembly back on the front of the truck and test it, okay? You don't have to bolt it all up in there, but just put a bolt in there, check it, make sure it works. Here, that was the side that was out originally. See, we're good. This was the passenger side that we took apart to do our swaps and check if it was our ballast or our lamp. It's working good too. So now that we've validated the lights are in good shape and they're working, we can go ahead and put the whole front of the truck back together. All right, so we got the headlights installed in the truck. One thing I'll note here that we noticed, so this is your different radiators up front. You got the transmission cooler, the condenser, and the actual radiator for the coolant. There's I think that's a power steering over there. That's a power steering cooler, I believe. But anyway, the thing you might want to take a look at is, and remember there's that cover that goes here and all this, of course, the grill and all. One thing you might want to do is take a look at your radiator. If you can see, there's a lot of junk down inside there, bugs and so forth. So with all these parts, you know, and everything off the truck, there we go. With all the parts, everything off the truck, now's a good time to really get all this stuff clean. You know, make sure that all your heat transfer surfaces are good and clean. The whole front end's good and clean, everything, before you button it all up, because some of these things are going to be difficult to get to after you seal it up. So just thought I'd to make note of that. Take a look at that, you know, and clean it off. We're going to use compressed air right here with a compressed air wand, and just obviously we're not going to, don't blow it into the cooler. We're going to try to blow it out, but you could also do it with water. Whatever means you got. So go ahead and get it cleaned up. Let's put back on the truck. All right, so we got our connections made on the side here. Now we're going to slip the whole assembly in. And one thing you want to make sure is that impact foam goes inside the matching area there, and then just kind of push it home. There you go. Now, be real careful too, because these clips on the side where the bolts go through, there's this plastic piece that kind of gives it some stability and something to actually screw to. Ours clips are damaged, so it wants to fall out, so you have to be real careful that that stays in place. So now the bumper's in place. It just fell out. Now the bumper's in place, we're going to go ahead and start bolting it in place. Now remember, you got 2 screws here on the side, and you got 1 screw there. You can see it right there in the middle of the screen that's missing. So once those are bolted up, then the bumper's on the truck. Now, you know, when you do this too, what we're going to do, we're going to go through a process. We're going to put the bolts in. We're going to bolt everything up very lightly, okay? Don't tighten it up. Just bolt it up very lightly. Snug it, say. Check your fitments. You know, check all your gaps. You know, of course, this gap right here should be good because of the bolting the headlight back up. But just put all your bolts in lightly. Check all your fitment. Check all your gaps. Make sure you can get to your tow hooks. Make sure all that stuff works. You know, double check your electrical connections that you just made as well. Make sure all those work, and then your fog lights. And then you can go ahead and back and tighten up all these bolts, okay? And then once those bolts are tightened, then the grill and the bumpers back on the truck. All right, so there it is, completed and put back together. I'll kind of go over what we did. So as you can see, we got this trim piece back in place. All the screws along the front here were tightened. We got new clips. Put those clips in place. And then also over here on the side where your splash skirts are, just take note. Make sure you put your screws up here. One goes at the top, and there's one that goes down here at the bottom. So that's pretty critical because there's actually something for it to screw to. Behind these areas in the middle, you need to use these, either this type of push pin, or there's another push pin you know, that has the little stake in the middle and kind of mushrooms the backside of it out. But once you do all that, you're done, and you replace the lights on the front of your Cadillac. So either your lights or your ballasts on the Cadillac are done. All right, so this has been Jake with the DIA guys here, and I hope this video is helpful to everybody. Hope maybe it was informative for you if you have to replace the headlights on the front of your Cadillac. Be sure to like and subscribe. Give me some comments, other things that you might want to see for videos. We got some upcoming projects, and maybe some smaller and some larger projects we'll film too. So give me some comments, give me some ideas, give me some thoughts about things you'd like to see, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.